Management Professional Certificate. This is Yada, and my favorite students call me the PMP Jedi Master. All fun and fun aside, in a formal role, I'm the founder and CEO of Project Management Training Institute at 4pmti.com. So without much ado, let's jump into the topic of Introduction to Project Management. Okay, so a project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product. Clearly note that the two important keywords here are temporary and unique. So temporary is time-bound and uniqueness implies, even though there are recurring elements that exist from project to project to project, there are certain elements of each project that are unique to itself. So combining the term project management, which is taking care or managing the project, it translates to applying the knowledge, the tools, the techniques in order to achieve the project requirements on project activities. So project management is the how-to of taking a project from its start to its finish. So the big question is, how old is this project management? Well, would pyramids of Giza or Taj Mahal or any of the big old wonders of the world, would they qualify, the construction of those, would it qualify as project management? It probably might. Some authors, however, classify the Manhattan Project as the first formal project. However, when you really look at the formal project management as a discipline, most authors agree that it started early to mid 1900s. In terms of modern project management practices and philosophies, you'll see a ton of them usually took off from Six Sigmas and PMIs, the ISO organization, and more recently, the Agile philosophies, and so on. So what is project management composed of, and how is project management implemented? The 5 process groups that have been popularized by PMI for project management purposes has been typically agreed upon by authors to be initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling, and closing. While it might be desirable to have this initiating, planning, executing, control, and close contiguously one after another, that's not the case, right? So clearly initiating is defining the project, where a new project takes shape. Planning is where you're developing, planning, determining the various aspects of getting work done in executing. Executing, on the other hand, is completing the deliverables. Monitoring and controlling includes assessing, controlling, and continuously watching over what's going on in the project, but it also includes a critical aspect of project, and that's managing change, which happens to be the only constant in project. Closing, on the other hand, is finalizing the project and transitioning it to either the next phase or the next project. Let's now take a look at the 10 knowledge areas that project managers also focus on. The 10 knowledge areas are integration management, scope management, cost management, schedule management, quality management, resource management, communications management, risk management, procurement management, and lastly, but not the least, of course, is stakeholder management. So how do we remember these 10 knowledge areas? A very cool acronym out here is IC special, certain queens require celestial royal palaces surely. Let us now delve deeper into what each of these 10 knowledge areas mean. So integration as a knowledge area doesn't really exist if the other 9 knowledge areas don't. So in other words, integration's primary purpose is to bring all the information, knowledge, and the aspects of the other 9 knowledge areas together. Scope, on the other hand, is primarily about work. In real life, though, most project managers where the lexicon of project management is not properly set up, the word scope is commonly misused, sometimes abused, just about everything on the project. But scope is primarily and always only about work. Schedule, on the other hand, is getting the project to a timely completion. Cost is all about managing the project within budget, whereas quality is meeting and showing that you're meeting the expectations of the project. Resources involves dealing with not just the team or human resources as is typically understood, but it also includes dealing with the physical resources. Communications is about information. This should not be confused with the 10th knowledge area in here, which is a stakeholder, which is all about engaging people. They both support each other, but they are distinctly different from one another. Risks, on the other hand, is all about unknowns. And unknowns could take on a positive life or a negative life. And when they are positive, we call them opportunities. And when they're negative, we call them threats. Clearly, in a project, we want to maximize those opportunities and minimize those threats. And we recognize as good project managers that it's never, ever possible to truly eliminate any type of risk. Procurement is typically adopted when the organization can find a greater opportunity to either to share and or transfer the risk to a third party and results in a win-win type of an engagement. So you're purchasing from outside. Okay, so now let's talk about what project managers do. What kind of qualities do they have? What kind of skills are expected out of a project manager? Fundamentally, project managers lead and direct a project through these 5 process groups. And while doing so, they'll have to use various management skills in order to bring the project to a successful fruition. So examples of these skills involve, the management skills involve leadership, and more importantly in today's world, the servant leadership, which is very popular and highly required in an agile environment. They should have knowledge about strategy, the vision, and goals. This is commonly not understood to be part of project management, but with the recent PMBOK guide, the new standards from PMI recognize as part of PMI talent triangle that project managers be aware of the strategy, vision, and goals of the organization so they can align the project in line with those. Project managers constantly would be required to solve problems. They should be good at it. They're constantly communicating. As a matter of fact, some authors go as far as saying that 90% of a project manager's job is communications. Needless to say, you're always coming to terms with other parties, your team members, your stakeholders, your peers, your sponsors, and so on. So negotiating is a very critical skill. Influencing or leading by example is a very critical example, and or persuading others is a very important management skill for a project manager to have. Project managers also have to deal with various cultures and politics. They'll have to build a team. They'll have to get a team to be a high-performance team. And there are various skills and tools and techniques that will help the project manager in this process. Trust building, which is to help ensure that there's a level of faith in between and among the team members, is also a crucial skill. Now, the most important question, well, what if I become a project manager? What kind of salaries can I make? What kind of compensatory benefits do I get if I move into project management and so on? Well, if you go to Indeed, Indeed says that the mean salaries for project managers in the United States is $131,573. Let's just roughly round it out to roughly $130,000. The range, however, is also not very big, surprisingly. It runs from about $117,000 to $147,000. So roughly between 100 to 150,000, an average of roughly 130,000. That's a pretty solid, compensation range for project managers. But the salary ranges that you see here in the graph here is based on the project managers survey that PMI conducts every year. And this is from their recent 10th edition. And if you notice, they indicate that the average salary of a PMP certified project manager is $115,000. And with those with less than 5 years is $103,000, and goes as high as $130,000 for those with 10 plus years of PMP certification and experience with a PMP certification under their belt for over 10 years. What is interesting to note here is that non-PMP certificates have a lot to lose, folks. And we're looking at somewhere at its highest point of roughly about $40,000 of loss. Needless to say, PMP certificates command a tremendous amount of respect, but more importantly, benefits for themselves. And the average is about 25%, 23 to 25% higher compensation for PMP certificates. Okay. And as we move forward, let's learn about the various ways in which project managers adopt methods and methodologies, systems and guidelines, procedures and policies in order to accomplish the outcomes of success within projects. The most common and the most popular methodology, of course, is the waterfall methodology, because this is generally how most projects tend to be implemented in a sort of organized with known requirements and very little uncertainty. So these typically follow the process of collecting requirements, analyzing those requirements, organizing them into deliverables, designing them, eventually implementing them to produce those deliverables, finally collecting all of them, putting them into a product, deploying that product, and maintaining and operating it. And a complete opposite of that is the agile methodology, which basically allows you to have a high degree of uncertainty with changing requirements. This takes on the features of incremental development by adding functionality, and iteratively, recursively refines those developments by prioritizing the work on business goals. The goal in agile philosophy, such as Scrum and so on, is to focus on a minimum viable product that's based and that has been prioritized by the customer based on the business goals. Needless to say, there's some great aspects in waterfall methodology, and there's great aspects in the agile system as well. Projects can adopt and combine features from either of them in lots of different ways and adopt what is called as a hybrid methodology. With this, I hope that I was able to present some level of insight into what project management is, what are the different skills that are required, what do project managers do, and how do they walk a project from its start all the way through its finish through the 5 process groups and the 10 knowledge areas. If you have more information, or if you need more information, or if you would like to communicate with us, we'd love to hear from you. Here's our email address, info@4pmti.com, and our phone number, as well as our website. We are one of the largest PMP certification training firm and also conduct training for various other certifications. We look forward to hearing back from you and hope you learned something out of this presentation. Thank you.